Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're all well and having a really great day so far. Today's video is a 5 look Swann palette using the new Natasha Denona Retro. I have already done a review video of this, so if you're looking for a review with swatches and also 2 other looks, I'll link that video in the description box below. But if you'd like to see how I put this look together along with 4 others, then grab yourself a drink, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep on watching. Taking the shade Patty and popping that into the crease. And actually I'm going to apply that all over the lid. And I really like this shade. It's got a really beautiful tone. And I'm going to run the same shade onto the lower lash line. I'm then taking the shade Vivian onto a fluffy brush and I'm going to use that to blend out the top of Patty. I'm then taking the shade Amara and placing that into the outer corner of the eye and also a bit on the lower lash line. Back in with a fluffy brush to blend that all out. And I love how these matte shades are all working together, blending together really easily. I'm then taking the shade Psychedelic and I'm just stamping that on the inner corner and the first third of the lid. And this is such a pretty topper shade. And I'm also going to place Psychedelic into the inner corner just to brighten. And that's the shadow for look number 1 finished. For look number 2, I'm starting with the shade Andy and I'm just applying that using a fluffy brush from Morphe right into the crease as the transition shade. And this is an absolutely gorgeous mauvey tone. I'm then going to take the shade Groove and I'm going to apply that into the crease. Going back in just to blend out the edge. I might apply a bit more Andy to my brush and smoke out that shade. And I just want to get that right into the outer corner and also a bit onto the lower lash line. Using my finger, I'm then applying the shade Swing to the whole of the lid and I'm just patting that. Neatening up the shape with a Morphe M124 brush. And I'm also applying that to the lower lash line. I'm then taking the shade Glitz and applying it to the centre of the lid. And I think that it applies better if you use small swiping motions rather than tapping directly onto the lid itself. Back in with the brush just to tidy up the top of that eye. I'm just going to jump off camera, apply liner, mascara and lashes, and I'll be back to talk about the finished looks. These are the finished looks for looks 1 and 2. I will zoom you in so you can take a closer look. Starting with look number 1, and I think this is a really beautiful soft eye look. Really love how the colours have worked together and it reminds me a lot of a Charlotte Tilbury style of eye look. Moving on to look number 2, and obviously this eye look is much more dramatic than the first. I love this purple shade though, and I think that sort of soft glimmer in the centre of the lid looks really pretty. I'm starting with the shade Jude and I'm applying that all over the lid with this ABH A3 brush. I'm then going in with the shade Andy on this Morphe M443 and using that to blend Jude out. To deepen up the outer corner, I've picked up the shade Apart and I'm applying this with the Morphe M506. I'm also taking the Apart shade onto the lower lash line, and I'm just using that to create like a flick out up into the other eyeshadow. And using the shade Andy, I've just taken that back on the original brush, and I'm going to use that just to soften the lower lash line and blend that shade out slightly. Picking up the shade Mod just to highlight the brow bone. And I'm also going to use this on the inner corner of the eye as well. That's just going to add a bit of brightness to the eye. And I think I am going to also layer some of the psychedelic shade on top of Mod, just to give the inner corner a bit more of a pop. And just using this brush just to blend that into the rest of the shadows. And that's the eyeshadow for look number 3 finished. For look number 4, I'm going to keep the look fairly soft. So I'm starting with the shade Vivian and just applying that all over the lid using this Morphe M433. And this is just going to give a nice base for the look. And I'm also taking it a little bit higher into the crease to use as the transition colour. Back into the shade Mod and just using that shade to highlight the brow bone. And that's going to blend into Vivian. I've now picked up the shade Go Go and I'm applying that using a Morphe M456. This is just going to go into the outer corner for now, and I'm just bringing that in on the lid a little bit as well. I might add just a small amount to the inner corner too, and creating a soft halo eye. Taking the shade Go Go down onto the lower lash line using this Zoeva Petite Eye Blender, and I'm focusing on the inner third and the outer third of the lower lash line. And I'm going to just softly connect the colour at the top. Going in with a clean Morphe M441 just to really blend out the edges and soften the look. And I'm also adding a bit of Vivian to the centre of the lower lash line as well, just so it balances with the top of the eye look. I am just pressing a small amount of psychedelic onto the centre of the lid just to add a bit of light. And that's the shadow for look number 4 now finished. I'm going to jump off camera, apply liner, mascara and lashes, and then I'll be back to show you the finished looks. So these are the finished looks for looks 3 and 4, and I really like how both of them have turned out. Look number 3 is a beautiful cool tone look. I really am enjoying how well these shadows are blending together. Andy is an excellent transition shade and really useful to blend out some of the darker tones. For look number 4, I think this is a really pretty, feminine, soft look. I think it would be perfect to wear as a wedding guest. I would have also liked to have paired this with a brown pencil liner just to soften it up even more. Or you could have even skipped the liner altogether and just gone with mascara and a false lash. And for look number 5, this is the look that I've put together. I always like to save quite a dramatic look for the last one, but I'm going to start with the shade Vivian on this Spectrum A12 brush, and I'm going to start by applying that in the inner corner. I'm taking that about a third of the way across the lid and also blending the shade up into the crease. I'm now applying the shade Nude Mauve onto this Luxe Crease brush from Zoeva, and this is going to be the transition colour. And I'm taking that about a third of the way into the eye as well. I'm then applying the shade Mod onto the brow bone just to give it a highlight with a clean brush. This one is a Morphe 433. I'm also going to take that shade down into the transition colour and start to blend that shade out. And you can just take your time to build this colour up. If you want to add a little bit more to try and even it up with the other eye, then obviously you can do so. Add a bit and then blend out. And just keep the edge nice and soft. Keep switching to the clean brush to do your blending. I'm now going in with the shade Apart, and I'm packing that right into the inner corner using this Zoeva Luxe Crease brush. And this is just going to add more definition to the outer corner of the eye. And keep going back in with that cleaner blending brush to blend it into the rest of the shades as we go. I'm now dipping into the shade Jude, and I'm packing that onto the lid, just gently pressing it in to give a soft, more diffused look. And this is just going to blend Apart into Jude, and then also Jude into Vivian, and give a really nice gradient. I've purposefully kept the top of this eye look quite neutral, but now we're going to add a bit of colour by putting Rebellion onto the lower lash line. So one thing I do really like about this cream powder formula is with the darker shades especially, you don't get any fallout. Well, I haven't experienced any anyway. But I'm just rubbing that onto the lower lash line and then flicking the colour up into the darker shade on the top. And I love the depth of this shade, but I want to tone down some of that bright berry colour, so I'm going to add a bit of Groove just over the top, just to deepen up the purple tone. And I'm just applying that with this small fluffy brush, just to gently smoke that lower lash line out. And to smoke that out even more, I'm just blending out the edge with the shade Nude Mauve. And that completes the eyeshadow for the final look. I'm just going to jump off camera, apply liner, mascara and lashes, and I'll be back to discuss the finished look. I'm back and this is the finished eye look. I think this quite possibly is my favourite look of the day, but I really love the contrast between the sort of more neutral eyeshadows on the top and these purpley berries on the bottom. I think it adds a lot of interest to the look, and the black liner balances out that berry tone beautifully. So guys, those were my 5 looks using the new Natasha Denona Retro Palette, and you can let me know which one was your favourite in the comments below. Since my review video, my opinion about this palette hasn't changed at all. It's an absolutely gorgeous palette. I've now used all of the eyeshadows in here and all of the shades are absolutely beautiful. There's not one dud. If this colour story is up your street, then I wouldn't hesitate in recommending this palette to you. It is beautiful. But whether you're thinking about buying this palette or just looking for some ideas on how you could use yours, I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel, and it also helps me to know the type of content that you guys enjoy watching. If you would like to see more videos from me though, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because I would love to have you back. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you on my next one.